booties for black girl nerds.
Hi, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing good. By the way,
Good.
happy impending birthday, Taraji.
Thank you. Keep reminding Kevin so he can gather his.
I don't want to hear it. Cut to the chase. Did you nerd out watching this or not?
Listen, I watched all the episodes.
Yeah.
So yes, I did geek
Okay.
out over this. This story is extraordinary. I had no knowledge of it prior, and it was so fascinating to watch. And Kevin, for you, while you were exploring this role, did you connect with the real life family members of Chicken Man, and did that help inform your performance at all?
I got to meet the real life family during filming. Beforehand, I did not get to meet them. It was more about the podcast. It was more about my conversations with our showrunner, my producing partner, and Will, and also our director out the gate in Craig Brewer. So it was about us just talking about what my take on the character would be, how I wanted to approach him, and making sure that we all agreed that that was the proper line to find balance on. So everybody agreed that it was more about the serious side and finding the moments for personality, for charm, and not the reverse. Not leaning on the personality or charm, that just adding as an aided piece of ammunition. But the grounded approach to the character we all felt was the best way, and making sure that I found a nice comfort in what his southern atmosphere was, dialect, cadence, and not trying to overdo it to where it became clownish or over the top. You know what I mean? Giving the audience what I felt was just a difference in myself and something that they could go, oh wow, I believe Kevin here. That was the goal.
It was an incredible, nuanced performance, and I just really loved the complexity of this character.
I always told him he would do great in drama. I told him that from the beginning.
I think people are going to really walk away with a big surprising reaction just from the fit of all of my leather pants. Nobody knows that my legs.
I knew it.
Let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about it. Nobody expected my quads to be what they were, and they are. In this
is what happens when I try to. This is how
I'm going from.
I try to give you compliments.
A big part of Chicken Man's whole dynamic is his legs. You think I'm saying something crazy? My walk, my legs.
You guys show respect for the abs too, because that scene where
yeah. By the way, nudity. I did. Yeah, that's my butt.
That's his black ass.
My black ass. Yeah. So let's go
I didn't know if you had a body double for
that. No, that's no double. That's my ass.
This is Mr. Fabletics.
Yeah, right there.
You owe me.
Let the people know.
I just
Mr. Fabletics. Okay.
And you just had that.
Taraji,
okay.
That's terrible. Right. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Taraji,
I just did more
this
for
is black
you.
girl nerds.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi. Yes. Sorry.
I love how at the end of the day that Vivian, she just wants to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And with learning about this character, is there anything about her personality that you admired or felt inspired by while you were playing this role?
Her strength.
Yeah, she used to dance. So the whole dynamic of that backdrop, I think Taraji related to.
I'll just leave.
The work, well, she asked, and I don't know if you're going to tell her. Are you going to tell her?
You jumped in. The question was directed to me. See, we can
her.
only be together for like 10 minutes, and then it falls to shit. Sorry. But anyway, what I love about her is her ability to control her emotions. And because I'm an emotional creature, I'm popping off. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You gonna know exactly what the hell I'm thinking, right?
Oh, we know.
Oh, shut up. But Vivian, because she operates in the world of men a lot, she can't be emotional. She has to check her emotions. And because she's dealing with this guy who is all over the place, somebody has to be grounded, right? And so it's her. And that's a fine line to walk. A very fine line to walk. So I just had to walk that tightrope.
And you did. I loved your character. I love Kevin's character. You guys did such a phenomenal job. Like I said, I watched all 8 episodes. I had to see how this story was going to end, and it paid off very well. I can't wait for everybody to see it. I feel like everybody on social media is going to be talking about it. It will be
Yes.
trending. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. I appreciate the conversation today. Y'all make
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Don, I'm going to start with you. I found myself talking back to the screen at some of the decisions that Hudson makes throughout the series because he takes the high road, and the high road can be risky. So do you feel like he's struggling with an internal battle of always having to take the high road?
I think he's struggling with everything, a system that's not built for him to succeed, a community that's not necessarily on his side.
For sure.
His own sort of moral compass about what he has to do, especially with regards to protecting somebody that he's not exactly sure how he feels about in terms of what he's done and how he showed up or not showed up as in service. So I think that JD is kind of a throwback, and he's, being pushed to consider and reconsider everything that he thought he knew up to this point. And as he attempts to not only do his job, but to do it in a way that he doesn't, sacrifice any of his integrity, but still, achieves at a high level and proves not only to himself, but to everybody that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And I think that's, that was the challenge for the character, but that was, thanks to Shaye and everybody who crafted the story. That was the fun thing to lean into.
And there was also that he was a Black police officer in Atlanta in the 1970s, dog, at the end of the day. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And so to me, being able to play Ali, who was protected by this man, who constantly is one of the people who's questioning the decisions he's making, right? As the person who he's looking over. It really provided a real deep sense of humanity, and that's what Don did so brilliant. Like, he allowed you to see JD the human. You see the wife and the kids, and you see that moment, and then you realize why he's making the decisions that he's making. And Ali learns a lot from him in this process. So
it's usual.
Yeah,
It's good. It's good to see the good cop for a change. We're
for
used
sure.
to bad cops in movies and shows, and sometimes it becomes a trope at some point, but it's good to see a multi-layered, multifaceted character like Hudson as the good cop in this series. Dexter, over to you. You give the best impression of Muhammad Ali that I have seen yet. And I really just love the way you emote who Ali was and his presence. What was your process in getting the right tone and cadence to his speech while you were working on this series?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. But it really, for me, was just finding his humanity. I think a lot of people have played up Muhammad Ali, and I think he's one of the most popular figures on this planet, right? So everybody has their own individual idea of what this guy is, whether they're seeing the boisterous person in their mind when they say Muhammad Ali, or the abolitionist, or the man in the ring. So for me, it was just really about capturing his humanity for this fight in this time in particular, and what his body movements would be, what his heart was, and where he was coming from. And
he was never not working on it. No, for me, just to be an observer, it was great that how serious Dexter took the role and understood that he was filling big shoes, and that he was never not, between takes. He was always, mostly staying in character, at least vocally, at least with the accent, because it's one of those things. I mean, we were both, you don't want to, you drop that and then it's hard to drop and pick up a lot of times. So I think there was a culture of staying with it that I think was very important in his portrayal.
You're working alongside him. So like, as much as it also is keeping Ali alive, it's also knowing that your scene partner is a Titan. So how are you going to make sure that you're not clashing, but collaborating with this Titan? And so for me, it was staying in the groove, and you were always in your accent too, in the Hudson mold, but Ali wouldn't say his R's like I would. So I get that right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
It was on point. You guys had some of the best scenes together. Some of my favorite scenes were the scenes with you guys, and you had such great chemistry. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. I really appreciate the conversation. And
Thank you.
This series, I watched it from beginning to end. So
great.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate you.
Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey. So, Chloe, I'm going to start with you. A number of the characters in this series are waffling back and forth on taking the right path versus the wrong one. Do you do you think that Lena second guesses what she does, or is she intentional with her decisions no matter what that path is?
Lena definitely second guesses in the beginning. She is hesitant on joining this dangerous journey again because she already has turned her back on it. And the only reason why she even gives it a second thought is because of her cousin and how they both know that they need this money because he has dreams to go to college. She has dreams as well. And that once she realizes that that's who she's doing it for, then her mind is made up. And from then on, there's no more second guessing. It's fight or flight. And she's like, I am not losing. So.
Yeah. Your character's story arc was one of the more emotional parts of this series that I found very compelling, but also it was gut-wrenching.
Yeah, for sure.
Sinqua, over to you. For McKinley, the same is really with his character too. Waffling between the right decisions and the wrong ones, and dealing with that internal struggle. Is he naive in his actions, or is he smart enough to know the consequences of his actions?
I definitely think that McKinley is naive because as we got to go through the journey, we realized that he was very uninformed to the point of being misinformed. And then once he discovers more, it's too late. And I think, the naivety of trusting someone that maybe wasn't the right person to trust, which is also a lesson for all of us, is make sure if you're going to trust the right people, right? Know the quality of their character, the integrity of their word, and all those things. But I don't think his intentions. He's done robberies before. I think he was trying to go right, but the opportunity to provide and what he felt like he had to gain versus what he was going to lose, similar to Lena, is why he goes on the journey. But his naivety was in who he was letting give him the information, is what led him on the path
Of destruction.
the path of no return.
Path of no return, exactly.
The path of no return.
I mean, such complex, multifaceted characters that have these different layers about them, which I found so compelling while watching the series. Chloe, back to you. I won't give it away, but there's some intense moments that your character goes through at a party. And a number of the ensemble cast members were in that scene. So what was filming like for you, working with so many talented performers in one scene?
I truly had the best time filming on set, and the party scenes were definitely a highlight. I feel we captured the essence of the chaos, but still every time they yelled cut, it was like in an organized fashion, and it never got to a point where it was suffocating or overbearing or overwhelming. And I think that is why we were able to do the scene so well. And we had everyone so deeply involved in making this feel real and authentic as to what actually happened. And I think we all did a great job telling the story.
That's good that you say that it wasn't suffocating, because I was wondering, was a lot of that body heat just uncomfortable for a while?
It got hot. It was.
I figured it would get hot.
It was never. Yeah, it was. It got hot, but it was never suffocating by energy or by ego or by a lack of support. But naturally, in any space, we would start to sweat because I think we were all in. Some of the things that Chloe had to do as far as like the intensity of it, especially even when you guys were in that even smaller room. When they would call cut, they would turn the air conditioner off. And you were always going like, please leave it on.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna have to record our voices later. Just leave it
All
on.
the commotion and the
Please
yelling,
just leave
yeah.
it on. But it was always when we would cut, we would leave, and we would just laugh and have so much fun. It was just such a supportive space.
There's so many great scenes in this series. Is there a scene, Sinqua, for you? Is there a scene or a moment that still resonates with you long after filming this?
Ooh, I have a few, but one in particular that I love is the scene where we establish the robbery, because all of us it's one of the few times, with the exception of Ali and Dexter and Don, we're all in the same room. Mm-hmm. Because for the most part, our worlds play so differently, from the Chicken Man world to the Ali world to the robbery world. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we were all in the same room, there was an opportunity for us to watch each other, play with each other, learn from each other, laugh with each other. And that was, even though it's, one moment, it took some time. So you got time with each other. And a large part of why we did this was to be able to work with some of these people that we look up to. And so to be able to be with them and just go, okay, this is how your process is. I want to ask you more questions. Those were the days that was cool. And honestly, I'm a huge fan of Don Cheadle. I am inspired by Don Cheadle. So there's scenes when Don is chasing me. And I'm like, Don Cheadle's chasing me. Irony. And that was some of my favorite scenes too.
Wow. This series was absolutely incredible. I watched all 8 episodes because I had to see how this story ends.
Thank you.
So I was completely leaned in. Congratulations on your performances. Great job. I feel like this is a show that people are going to be talking about on social media. It's going to be trending. It is definitely a show that is going to foster a lot of conversation. And I didn't know about the story, so I got to check out that podcast because I did not.
Check it out. It's really good too.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. I really appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.
Hi, Will. Hi, Shaye. How are you guys doing? So glad to be here.
What up, Jamie? Long time. How you doing?
I know. I always enjoy with you, and I always enjoy your projects. And boy, this was really, really good. I saw episode 1 through episode 8 because I had to see how this story ends. So wow. I binged it.
Wow.
And well, I'll start with you. I always admire how much you give a love letter to Atlanta with your stories and your projects. Did you intentionally go for this story because it had an Atlanta backdrop?
No question. No question. I am unashamed in my love for Atlanta. Feli forever. I love Atlanta. And I think that the fact that it has become this incredible Black Mecca where it is a home to African-American entrepreneurs, dreamers, hustlers, all those things that we actually showcase in this series, I felt was quite apropos. And bringing on Shaye, who also has Atlanta roots, who said, I also have a love for this city. He's got family in the city. Mm-hmm. He knew he had to do this right, or else he was going to hear about it, right? We both were going to hear about it. And so he was a perfect person to make sure that Atlanta, as you saw when you see it, and people will see when they watch the series, is a very essential character. It is its own character in the Fight Night piece.
It is indeed. And we get to learn a lot of history about Atlanta in this series, that even things that I didn't know about. And I'm not going to spoil it by talking about it, but it was fascinating to watch. Shaye, I was highly entertained and impressed with the pacing of this series. Like I said, I was dialed in episode 1 to 8. And I was intrigued from beginning to end. So what are the elements of keeping a viewer engaged when you're crafting a story like this together?
Character. I mean, we have this we have such amazing elements from a storytelling standpoint. Like we got story for days and just amazing stuff that you never really got a chance to see before. So for us, it's just like, oh man, we got new toys to play with from a creative standpoint. But what keeps people coming back is character. And I know Will has mentioned this. Our protagonists are dreamers. And that's something that I think a lot of people, it makes you connect with them and identify with them. And you got Kevin Hart, just this star that has so much gravity in the middle of it. He's our guy, and he's a dreamer. So I'm already in. Kevin Hart is a dreamer in the 70s in Atlanta, let's go. But then on the other side, you even have even our antagonist, Frank Moulton, the Black Godfather, is also a dreamer. And this dude could be easily dismissed as just some simple thug, But no, even this guy at this level still has dreams.
Facts.
And I think that is, from a character standpoint, I guarantee you. From Vivian, Taraji, from Cadillac, Richie, with my man Terrence, even JD, being played by Dunn, everybody is trying to get somewhere, and we can all identify with that. And I think that's what keeps people coming back. We got these great stories, this great plot, but it's these characters that I think will keep people tuning in, for years to come, hopefully.
I'm amazed how you were able to corral all of this incredible Black talent of Hollywood into this one series. It's just so fascinating to see all of these great actors who I love on the big screen and small screen in this series. Will, back to you. I found myself looking away at moments because it got a little violent for me. And I was on the edge of my seat with the action. Did you know from the beginning what the tone of the show was going to be about?
It was something we talked about a lot. It was something that when we were putting it together, one of the first conversations that Shaye and I had was about how this show should feel. And we actually wanted to keep you on the edge of your seat and make you a little uncomfortable. So it sounds like mission accomplished, right? And I hope audiences will feel that way. And then Kevin Hart, one of the most important things for him, because of course he's one of the biggest comedians in the world, was that this project felt serious in its tone. He definitely wanted to make sure that we were telling the most dramatic version. And he, like a lot of comedians, have that that depth that they can pull from, but they don't often get an opportunity to. It's known so much for their comedy, but they all have this reservoir from which they pull dramatic elements. And I think this is, frankly, some of Kevin Hart's best work. But it was his desire to make sure that this tone was very serious. There is some violence. It is one of those projects where you gotta keep watching because, some of your favorites may not be there at the end, right? And so you gotta definitely stay tuned in. And Shaye talked about character. If you can get people to invest in the characters on the screen that you have created, then you've got them locked in for the entirety of the series. Yes. And that was definitely the goal here.
Yes.
And just to add to that, not only the characters, but the story. I was invested in the story because I'm like, I got to see how this is going to play out with all of the decisions that these characters make. How is this all going to end? So thank you, Will. Thank you, Shaye, so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. Great job, great work. I can't wait for people to be talking about this on social media.
Come on now. Listen, start that conversation. Get it out there and let them know.
Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, my friend. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Good to see you too. Bye.
Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds.